Hi, Wanderers.
Welcome to Story Time. We thought that at the end of each one of the military chatter series that we would...
I like that military chatter. That's pretty good.
I know. I'm so clever. We thought that we would tell a few stories about whatever the topic is and talk about how our experience has been with that in the military. And so we kind of talked about in the last one where we are right now in the process and what we're kind of worried about and what we think is going to happen. We have to handle this dog.
All right, so we start the whole thing over?
No.
Okay.
Where was I?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we had to handle the dog situation. So, this time we're going to tell some stories about us PCSing. So, we have two that we think are really good stories that kind of demonstrate what our experience has been like. So, the first one was...
So, this is my go-to story when someone asks for like a moving story in the military. I also tell it to junior chaplains of this is what could happen. This is what life could be like. So we were at our first assignment. We've been there about 2 years, and so we put in, or I had on my list to maybe go do a remote assignment. I had done one backfilling on a TDY, temporary duty. And so we thought, you do a remote sometime in your career, and we thought, well, we'll try to get in control. We'll put it on the list, that sort of thing. So hadn't heard anything. We're going into our third year. We thought, well, we'll have another year, and then I'll go do a remote, which would be like Korea or something like that.
And we were at our first assignment.
Yes.
So we didn't know, like now we know they're waiting to give us an assignment. We had no clue that it was even a possibility that we would move because it was also getting to be fall time, and we thought that everybody moved during the summer,
right.
And so it wasn't even on our radar.
Right. So we had recently purchased a pop-up camper. And
our first RV.
Our first RV. We'll get back to one someday. But
not pop-up.
No, not pop-up. So we had taken it for a one night kind of shakedown tour up at the Air Force Academy, and that went pretty well for a weekend.
Well, we learned an important lesson, which is that the 1-year-old foster kid did not do well in the pop-up. He liked to be in his own room, sleeping in his own room by himself.
You people get away from me.
Yeah.
So
he did not join us on the next trip.
He did not. So we decided for like the maiden voyage after we'd done the shakedown was we would go to Yellowstone. So we'd gotten a spot between Yellowstone and Grand Tetons, is that what it's called?
Yep.
And we're staying there, and so week of leave, nothing, that sort of thing. Well, if you've been to Yellowstone, there is no such thing as cell service. For the most part.
This was
back in
2009.
2009. It could be different now. In 2009, there was not a lot of cell service.
We haven't been back?
No, we haven't. So about Wednesday of the week, we got a call, or we drove through reception, and my phone just blows up. So we checked the voicemail, and it was a voicemail from a chaplain whose name I won't mention, but a chaplain name wasn't familiar. He said, "This is Chaplain Snuffy." We'll call him Chaplain Snuffy. Okay, I don't know Chaplain Snuffy. At Randolph. Okay, that's a little weird. Why is someone calling me from Randolph Air Force Base, that's in Texas, in assignments? And my heart starts doing palpitations.
Like, he started shaking, and I just thought, okay, somebody has died. Like, that's what they're calling to tell us, that somebody has died. And I couldn't hear anything. I just saw, like, his hands started shaking, and I thought, okay, we had pulled over so that he could call and check the voicemail. But I just remember, it's okay.
All right, so how do you want to pick that back up?
Well, we were stopped on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So let's just start there.
So we pulled off on the side of the road. She was driving, actually, at this point. And I was able to let her know no one had died. But I'm asking for a piece of paper and a pencil to write down a phone number because, he was, basically the message said, we're looking at you for an assignment. and please give us a call back as soon as possible. Well, it was, I don't know, late in the day.
Yeah. On a Thursday or Friday?
That was a Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
Late in the day, probably 4 o'clock or so. We're in Mountain Time. They're Central Time. I'm thinking by the time I call, he's going to be gone. No, but lo and behold, he was there. And we got a cryptic response. They were looking at us for an assignment. It was on my sheet.
Right.
But they couldn't say where.
It felt so weird. They're like, we can't tell you where.
Other than it's in Europe.
It is in Europe.
And do you want to take your family?
Right. And you have the choice to take your family or not.
Well, yes.
We know nothing about the bases. Like, I didn't know anything for sure. And so I thought, well, that could be anywhere in Europe. Like, it didn't... I know now that would have narrowed it down for us, like where you may be going. Yeah. It's on your sheet. It's in Europe. So all of those things just meant nothing to me at the time. They would mean a lot more to me now. But
here was the kicker. They said, "Do you want to take your family?" Yes. All right. Well, we need you in place by 28 October. Which was 65 days.
I was going to say, I just know we had 65 days.
Well, so actually it was a little bit more than at that point because they said, they want to move pretty quick on this. So you'll hear by Friday, which didn't know enough about the way government operation goes. We did not hear by Friday on the drive back home. So we
drove home the whole time waiting for the phone to ring.
Yes, going into Labor Day weekend. And so by Tuesday the next week, though, the email came in, and yes, we had 65 days to get from duty station in Colorado to Turkey.
We had never been outside of the country. We did not have passports.
So you remember back in the previous episode we talked about having, once you get the assignment rip signed that you can go, then it triggers all these things. But once we got through that, my entire list was red, to including the very first one, which should have started 6 months before the report, no later than,
which is
passports, which we didn't have. Nobody had them. So I guess we end that story, and it encompasses the fact that for us, we knew this was a God move because we went from notification to Turkey
in 65 days.
In 65 days with 8 days of leave. The cherry on top is we received the passports came into the base on a Thursday. They overnighted them FedEx to my mom's house to arrive on a Friday for us to drop the car off and fly out on Sunday.
Yep. So we got the passports, drove down to New Orleans, dropped the car off, got on a plane, flew out on Sunday. Everything worked exactly like it was supposed to.
Miracles happen.
Yeah. In 65 days in the military. That one was the fault of the Air Force, saying, you have 65 days to get this done and let's go. The other time that we had to rush things was...
I blame you.
Our fault and not the Air Force's. And we were actually on leave getting ready to move to Spain. We already had our assignment.
We had plenty of time.
Oh, yeah. We knew in January that we had to be there in the summer. Yeah. And so, of course, passports had been updated. Everything was working exactly the way it should. We were on leave, and I texted Ron.
So let me set the stage. It was in June, the end of June, for my mom's home church's homecoming, and I'd been asked to preach because we were going to be home on leave, taking some time, because we know we're heading, over to Spain, and that travel, will be difficult, that sort of thing. So I'm sitting on the front pew, about to preach. I mean, I'm moments from walking up with my sermon, and I get this text.
Well, and I looked over, Ron's family was there, and Ron has a cousin, and she has 3 daughters, and her youngest daughter was 16 years old. And I thought, she's only got 2 more years until she is an adult. And what if she came and lived with us in Spain and spent her last 2 years before adulthood with us? And I just thought, well, I can ask her and see if she wants to do it. I mean, that might be really cool to have your last 2 years of high school be in a different country. So I didn't ask her first.
Hey guys, it's reading time.
Stop. So I didn't ask her first. I texted Ron. And all I said was, what if China comes to live with us? And then he got up to preach.
So funny thing though is
and you didn't have your phone, and I thought, well, it'll be fine. He won't see the text. It won't disrupt or anything. I forgot that it comes in on his watch. And right as I heard his phone, because I had his phone, right as I heard his phone vibrate, I saw him look at his watch, and I was like, oh my gosh, he just saw it. So I wasn't purposefully trying to...
Well, and the funny part was, and I don't want to say I seriously thought about it, but, you know, the idea sort of had popped through my brain before. And so... we said yes.
Well, you said yes, and she said yes. So, thus began we had a month, maybe?
Ish.
Yeah,
about a month. Before we were supposed to leave, for our port call.
And so, while we all had passports, she did not. And
but before that,
right,
she also isn't my
dependent.
And dependents have to be on your orders,
right,
to be able to go. So,
and dependents that are under 18 have to have their biological parents say, yes, you can have custody of my child. So she had to go to her parents and say, I really want to do this. I think this will be cool. So they had to sign over. That had to be notarized. They are in 2 different states. Getting all that information back to us in Arkansas was little bit nerve-wracking, but it worked really quickly, way faster than I thought.
So again, miracles happen, and it's why I put full faith that God gets me where He needs me to in the Air Force. So that part wasn't too bad. The getting her
permission,
getting her as a ward wasn't a big deal. The big deal is that once that happened legally, for her to get on order, she had to get in DEERS, which is, oh my gosh, we'll have to look that up. But dependent.
Okay, well, that will pop up somewhere. We're in the middle of the screen this time, so I don't know where our pop-ups are going to be, but maybe right over our face.
But DEERS is a tracking system. It's a reporting system for dependents. And so that, though, has to go through the Defense Finance, DFAS. Again, another acronym. I'm putting her to work. For them to say, yes, this person is your dependent. That's not a short process.
Right.
When we started this and people in finance and personnel looked at me like we were absolutely out of our mind.
I think it was going to happen.
That was going to happen. You know, they said, you know, that can take up to 6 weeks just for that. And then everything else rolls from that, or getting the orders amended, getting her on the orders, getting the passport, all that sort of stuff.
Well, we could go ahead and do the passport. We'll talk about it when we talk about traveling in the military. There's 2 different kinds of passports.
Yes.
But we could go ahead and get her tourist passport started just like anybody would get a passport done.
That's true.
So that process, we'll tell you about in a second. So how would happen with the other?
So sent the stuff in, faxed it in, and, you know, they'll get to it when they get to it. And lo and behold, it took them a week.
Right, to do all of it.
When I went back and told my folks in my finance office at the base we were at that time, they just looked at me like, don't lie. And no, here it is. So got her amended onto my orders. So now she could PCS, that she would have a spot on the flight, all that sort of stuff, rolled. Where you guys were only a week behind me.
So we almost got to fly out at the same time behind.
Yeah.
So the tourist passport, we did. If you've ever done it, and if you were born in Texas, like she was, you will know.
Texas and California?
It is. Texas and California require
what's up with you guys?
Long form birth certificate to get a passport. So she didn't have one of those. She had just that little generic...
She does now, though.
She does now. Just that little generic little passport thing. And you could get a long form mailed to you. It would take 6 to 8 weeks to arrive. And we were trying to leave in like a week. And so I thought, what are we going to do? We're in Arkansas. All of our stuff is on its way to Spain. Ron is going to fly out. We were dropping the car off in Dallas. And then that's where we were going to fly out of? was fly out of Dallas. I don't remember even the initial. Where were you? You ended up flying out of Little Rock, though, right?
I think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, so we're in Arkansas, and he's settled. Like, I know he's gone. He's going to get there in time and do all that. So it's me with now 3 kids, and I have to figure out how to get her passport done. And then we still have orders. I have all of our orders. And so I need to keep up with all of that to give to the airport people to get where we need to go. So we have decided that I will drop off the car at the port in Dallas well, it's not a port, but it's in Dallas. But it's at the place that ships the cars. So I will drop the car off in Dallas, and then the 4 of us will fly out of Dallas after we go get her passport. So I call down there in Austin, and they were like, yes, you can come here and get her long form birth certificate in the same day that you arrive. I was like, fantastic. I have family members that live in Austin who were fantastic and let us stay there. And so the 4 of us, with all of our luggage that we were taking for the official PCS, we load up in our car. We drive down to Austin. We get there to their house the next morning. She and I are there bright and early in the morning. We get right in. We get the long form birth certificate. I'm like, this is perfect. Let's go get the same day passport.
Yeah.
And so I go to the lady and I ask her, and she's like, we don't do that here in Austin. And I was like, what? And they're like, but the good news is they do it in Dallas. And I was like, okay. I mean, we're flying out of Dallas already. We have to drop the car off in Dallas. So I call another friend that I know that lives in Dallas. And I was like, hey, would you like some roommates for the night? And she was like, absolutely, come on. So we know that our flight is flying out on Wednesday. Monday, we got the long form birth certificate. Tuesday, we get up really early Tuesday and we drive straight to Dallas. We had to go in the morning to get the passports done. And we're flying out Wednesday. It's not really early in the morning on Wednesday, I remember, because their machine broke and they didn't think they could do same day passports that day. So as we're sitting in the waiting room, there's the 4 of us waiting there, and that we had done everything. Everything was good. She even had 2 sets of IDs, of photos taken for the passports, because in one of them she was wearing glasses and they said there was a little bit of a glare, so you couldn't wear glasses. So we did another one with no glasses, but then when we got there, the people were like, well, if she normally wears glasses, we need a picture with her glasses on. And I was like, okay, I know. At this point, I had talked to so many people that I was like, we have 1 million pictures of her. Pick one that you would like to put on the passport. And so they took it no problem in Dallas. It was so smooth, that part of it. And then they walked out and they announced, and they're like, we're really sorry. You guys can stick around till like 8 o'clock tonight, and we're trying to get the machine going again, and you can just check back. Well, there were some people whose flights were leaving like that night, like 11 or 12 that night. And they said, we're going to do them first. So we kind of lined up based on how our flights were taking off. And they just called us up one at a time to try to get it done. Well, we were probably 5th or 6th in line that night. And it was about 8 or 9 o'clock. I felt so bad for these people that were working so late to try to get all of us out of there. And the guy came back and he said, it's working, and I have all of these. And he had like 12 or 13 of them in his hand, and one of them was hers. And so he's like, here, take this. So we drove back to our house. It was great. We drove back to my friend's house, who was amazing. The next morning, I got up and went to the port. I'm calling it the port. That's not what it is. The drop-off place where I'm supposed to take the car. And I was super worried about that, because if it's dirty or if it has anything on it, like, they want everything documented, because they don't want to be blamed for any damage during the journey over to Spain. So I was really worried about that. That went super smoothly. My friend came and picked me up from there, brought me back to her house. We loaded everything in her van, and she took us to the airport, and the 4 of us flew out. And it was a crazy week, but it ended up being fantastic. Yeah. And everything worked out just like it should. There was just a lot of driving. A lot of driving that week to get from place to place in Texas, which is not a small state.
No,
so.
no. The funny part to that is they arrived in Spain, and of course I had a week to acclimate, and so they were just punch drunk.
Right, well, we were so jet lagged, and he goes, let's go on a tour of the base. And so he's like driving us around everywhere, and he's like, this is the library, and this is the school. And like 2 days later.
To be fair, it took like 5 minutes. It's a very small
It
base.
is a small base, but like 2 days later, I remember somebody saying something about the swimming pool, and I was like, "Where is that?" And he said, "We drove by it on the tour." I was like, "Okay, I slept through that tour. I'm sorry, I don't remember it at all." So
all that said, those are great stories. We love that. Was it stressful? Yeah, absolutely.
it was, but it was also fun.
Yeah.
Like I like adventure.
Yeah.
It was one giant big adventure.
Yes.
So, we are going to do one final PCSing episode, and that's going to be Q&A. So we already have a few questions that you guys have left. If you have any more, put them down below. We're going to be filming it in just a couple days after this video comes out. We'll answer all the questions that we have.
That's right. To the best of our ability.
Right. And then we'll start our next series in military chatter.
Yeah, hopefully with an assignment.
Yeah, we still don't know where we're going.
It's going to be really hard to do these videos if we don't know where we're going, so that we can work the process. But we'll get there.
Right.
They promised me it will come at some point.
That's right.
Thank you guys for joining us. It's super fun to talk about this, and as you can tell, we love to talk about these things. So we hope that that you will like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell so you can receive notifications for future videos.
And one last thing. We've heard from a lot of you guys that have served in the military before or in the reserves or active duty now. And so we just thank you for your service.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure and an honor to serve with you or with your legacy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.